We got Ross Bowman back in town. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you guys. Glad to be back.
Always a treat when you pass through town, and you came in hot, drove across the country.
Yeah, going up near Sacramento and San Francisco, helped the guys on a site. So this is on the way, so here I am.
I'm glad you stopped by. It was a good morning. We had a good early workout. Some good breakfast at Jay's Hideaway.
Yeah, I'm still in my gym clothes. I didn't expect to be doing this, so
Well, that's all right. Well, that's part of the traveling, right? So what are you doing up north?
the guys are doing some preventive maintenance. They're doing some troubleshooting. It's kind of a mix, but day by day, helping the site wherever the site thinks they can utilize them. That's what they got them doing. We got a really versatile team up there that you can kind of throw a little bit of anything at them. Let's see, we got guys up there with troubleshooting experience, MCE experience, basic, preventative maintenance techs with those guys. So it's a super versatile team up there right now.
That's the definition of site support, right? That's why it's meant to be generic.
Yeah.
And have people that can just go with the flow of the site team, I suppose, and whatever the demands are of the turbines.
Well, yeah, and I mean, personally, that's the way I think we like to send out our teams, is to be versatile, right? We understand we're sending them there to do a certain task, but why should we limit that customer if they need them to go do something else? Hey, yeah, go do it.
What's it like getting out into the field again? You've had a lot of changes in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's get used to home and then go help, because we get busy, which is, there's worse problems to have, right?
Yeah.
But and then there's some jobs that they're, I would say, technical but sketchy, right? It's a high risk hazard. We like to go out and do those jobs.
Okay.
Shout out to Chance. He's like we're the go do the sketchy jobs. Don't put our guys at risk. We'll go do that stuff. So
you say sketchy, I'm thinking, boy, stop work.
Well, I say sketchy because, you're having to use alternate tie-off points. You're having to use, rope access style stuff, right? You got to be a little more creative. You have to understand those tie-off points and how to achieve that safety, right? And we're bringing guys into that realm and we're training them. Those guys are certified in rope access, but we still like handling that because, at the end of the day, we don't want to send our techs to just go do it, right? Their safety is number one for us. So we'd rather be there and walking them through it and training them and making sure they are able to recognize and walk through those scenarios on their own before we just let them go, right?
I love seeing management people get out in the field. Yeah. It's as careers progress, it's less and less of that, for the person and the career that progresses, to kind of depending on where it goes. But, when you're in management of people performing the work, getting out in the field is crucial.
It is.
So, okay, I heard a couple of different things. One is you're going to go support the team doing site support. And then it's, sketchy. So these are unique jobs, unusual, yes. Uncommon. Is this maybe a unique retrofit or a unique failure mode, or?
Yeah, so it's turbine liberated a blade, damaged in the cell.
Liberated, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a term the industry likes to use nowadays. But essentially, damaged in the cell. And so now you don't have those usual tie-off points, right? And we're going to go weatherproof the nacelle, right? They're not ready to tackle the entire job. They want it weatherproof. They want to, preserve that asset the best they can. And so we're going to go do that.
Yeah. I've seen you do a few of these custom inspections, and you and Chance do these custom repairs. Now you're taking people from the team and starting to train them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't keep the knowledge inside your head, right? You got to share it. You got to train everybody. Uh, a team doesn't grow with one person. It grows as a team.
Yeah. Share it, right? Educate them.
Yeah.
Share it. All right. So what are you going to be out? A couple weeks or more? Or?
Well, I'll be up in Northern California for a week, and then hopefully that next job we were just talking about doesn't push again. They're waiting on another crew to get done doing some other stuff to that tower. So if that doesn't push, I'll head straight over to Nebraska for it should only be 2 days. We'll see if there's any weather or anything, but and then head back south to the house.
All right. So tell me what it's like on not the unique and unusual, but the regular site support when you go out to the field. What are some of the key things that a manager needs to look for? And I mean, tell me your approach.
Well, I guess I'm going to explain this from my point of view.
Yeah.
But, I like to show up at least 30 minutes early. I like to see when the guys are pulling in, what their trucks look like, how are they dressed, So I look at that, and then I go into the morning meeting. I don't like to be the one in the front, right? I just kind of sit back and listen. How are they presenting? How are my techs receiving that information? How are they then taking that information they receive and delegating it out? Are they telling the other guys what specific tools, this is what we need? Or are they saying, okay, this is what we have today. Who wants to do what, right? What's their approach as a leader for us? What is their approach, right? So I focus on I take all that information in and just kind of lock it away all week. And at the end of the week, I'll essentially sit down with that lead and that team and let them know what I see, what I think maybe we could do a little better or not. And, just make it a teaching moment.
So cool. You go and see. That's the old Gemba word, I think, from my lean training. It's just Japanese for go and see.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So it starts off with go and see. It's discovery, right? I heard some of these key things. So I liked the first two. Are their trucks clean, you said?
Yeah.
I've heard so many people go and run an inspection on a site. And, for a lot of different reasons, you inspect a number of turbines or entire site. And the folks that have been doing it a long time, I hear this. They go and they open all the trucks.
Yep.
And they'll say, if that truck is clean, I can imagine the turbine is the same. And if the truck is a mess, I got an idea what I'm getting myself into. The turbine's probably going to be a mess.
Well, it may be not just the tower being a mess, right? Because in my opinion, if you can manage something as simple as keeping your truck clean and organized, that means their paperwork's probably organized. They're doing their daily and monthly inspections, right? It's a domino effect, right? In my perception, right? And then you'll have the guys that show up with, oh man, the outside of that truck is spotless. But then you open it and it looks like, it looks like somebody's been living in there for a month. Thankfully we don't have any guys that have been doing that, but it's guys do that, right? They're like, oh, I know this guy's coming, so I'm going to run this through the truck wash real quick. And but then the inside looks like they got half of West Texas dirt in it and trash everywhere, So
this is like guy cleaning back in my younger days.
Yeah.
Steph said clean the house, and I'd shove it all in the closet somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. Dust around the object or something.
Well, I'm not perfect. My wife still yells at me. I'll have a little pile over here of stuff, and I know where it is. She's like, why? Just put it away. I'm like, yeah, but I know where it is.
Yep. The small things are difficult, and they can pile up.
They can.
They can pile up, and when they do, you just gotta hit the reset button and get after it. And well, you and I were just talking about this about my garage. 3 years since I've really kind of gone through and cleaned things, and because life's busy and whatnot. But boy, it feels so good to see the corners again.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't see the corners.
I was cleaning my garage when, we started that, and all of a sudden, I take everything out, I clean it, and then it seems like all the leaves wanted to fall.
Yeah.
But now my garage is already full of leaves, so well, I'll have to do that again.
Right. Well, it's always something. You got to do a little bit continually
Yeah.
to make it not a big problem. So, well, I'm glad you don't have anyone on your team that you're dealing with just regular routine cleanliness and paperwork and things like that. What are some of the other things you might look for? You do this discovery initially going into the site. Do you run kind of a discovery on individual people? I don't know, career placement. What could they use to learn next?
To an extent, right? I mean, I'm still going to go work out, with my crew, right? So it'll be me and one other guy, and then there'll be another crew, right? I'm going to go with wherever our lead tells me, hey, you're going to be with this guy, right? I fall into line. But I do like to, get together with the guys after work. And that's when I kind of really get into those questions like, hey, you've done these so far for the company, this different type of work. What do you like? What do you don't like? What do you want to do? Right. That's kind of when I dig into that stuff because, yeah, you can do it over the phone, but it's always better in person.
Yes. And what I heard is might be in the evening. So you take what opportunity you have. And you don't wait for that, 6-month review, annual review time. Just continually have these discussions.
I am very open with our guys. They know they can call me. Sometimes I don't appreciate them calling me. It's a little late, but they're having a good time and they just want to call me. But that's the thing, right? Is I like to have that relationship with the technicians, right? They understand that, hey, my position and their position. But at the same time, we have that mutual ground, that we have that mutual respect, and they know they can come and tell me like, hey, I don't like this, or hey, I like this, but I think we can do it better, right? They're not scared to say what's on their mind. And that's how it should be. Because how do you know if anything's wrong if nobody says anything? Mm-hmm. Right? So if you're creating a culture of yelling and cussing and just being demeaning, nobody's ever going to bring anything to your attention.
Right.
It's,
I think it was probably from the 80s. I have an open door policy, when everyone had an office with a door. Open door policy. Well, what have you gotten from the team? No complaints, no issues. Nobody said anything. Your door's not open.
Yeah.
If that's the case, nobody's talking to you, your door's not open.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. So if they're calling you, you've created that transparent atmosphere.
Yeah. No, and it's sad to say it, but if you don't have that culture in your company as a whole, something has to change because eventually it's going to end up biting you.
Yes.
It's only a matter of time. It's not when. It's it's not if, it's when.
Right. Not if, but when. It will happen, won't it?
Yeah.
Or the other side of it, you have people on your team that aren't getting any personal attention from their manager and feel that their career can go nowhere, right? Because no one's having a talk with them about, what have you learned lately? What do you like? What do you don't like? Just those things you said.
Well, I've learned you have to call the quiet ones. So I say it because I was a quiet one.
Okay.
I never called my managers. I didn't want to talk to them. Like, it's not because I didn't like them. It's just because, hey, I'm handling my business. Everything's good. As far as I'm concerned, if I don't hear from you, like, we're good, right? At my past jobs, I would have managers call me and they're like, well, I know the job's going good, but you all right? Like, I never hear from you. I'm like, yeah, we're working. Yeah, what do you need?
Right.
But so being in this side of things, right, I have to remind myself, call those self-efficient guys. Because I was that self-efficient guy in the field that never heard from a manager. But, hey, I need to talk to my guys. I need to know what they're doing, right? I need to know if they're having any issues. If they're tired of the work they're doing. They might be the customer's favorite, right? But if they're there too long and it's driving them into the ground and they want to do something else, you got to get them somewhere else. You got to work that with the customer and make your technician happy because that's what keeps guys around doing what they want to do.
That sounds like the sustainable part
Yeah.
of the old logo
Yeah.
or motto. This episode brought to you by RST Cranes. With over 30 years of experience, RST Cranes brings the industry expertise to every project. From wind turbines to solar inverters, mining operations to industrial construction, RST Cranes is your heavy lift specialist, located in Tehachapi, California, and serving the surrounding areas. Contact RST Cranes for your next project at www.rstcranes.com. I think 6 months ago or so, we did kind of an episode on technician culture. But what's funny is so much of it, kind of quickly, the conversation went to manager culture. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you're defining here, how to be a good manager. And I appreciate you saying it by not kind of diving into the bad habits, right? Just teach it the right way. And that piece on how you'll go out to a site and fill in and fall in, you're not going out and taking control.
Yeah.
You're joining the team. You're working with them. You're answering to a person that actually works for you. No. So it might make them a little uncomfortable, but also teaches them what they need to do, if they want to get to that manager spot someday.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I guess we already said it, right? Just you want to get out there and teach, right? And if I just show up and I just start pointing fingers, I just ruin the whole mood for that entire site.
Right.
They don't want to hear it. Now they don't want to be there. It's just not the way to be, right? Unless there's something actually wrong, If you see some stuff going on and you need to nip it in the bud, like, yeah, go ahead and do it. But you still don't have to yell and do all those things to fix those problems,
Only if you don't see them being able to find their path, right?
Right.
It's good to let people fail.
Yeah.
And learn. I love this, and I've seen this from you and Chance and how you do that. You'll pick this person, they're the lead, and then you take, the back seat and allow that person to lead you and the team for a period of time. I've never seen this before. And it could just be that I'm too far out of touch with what's happening in the field, but is it common, and where did you learn it? Where did you and Chance learn it?
Wow. Well, if I had to guess, I guess I didn't see it much in wind. I probably picked it up from the military. I don't know where Chance would have picked it up, to be honest. But me and Chance have a very similar mentality, though, when it comes to those things. We want our guys to run it. We want to help them achieve that status of being efficient. So, I couldn't give you a good answer. I don't know.
So it was intuitive.
Yeah, I guess so.
Somehow it was intuitive. You just knew it was the right way.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Chance at some point. I could believe it would be intuitive as well. Because I know Chance so well. But it's not common. Or is it common? You're closer to you've spent more years in the field here recently, more recently than I have, is my point.
I think over my entire career, I've seen 2 managers go to the field. One, it was GE back in the day had that big blade bolt issue. They pulled in all the third parties, and we started went and just go torque all the blade bolts, right? And yeah, my manager went out there with us. He's a little shorter. I'm sure if he's watching this, he'll know exactly who he is. He wasn't tall enough to reach the top blade bolts, so he couldn't do this. But, he got out there with us. We didn't have climb assist or nothing. Then I had another time. I was doing gearbox exchanges. Our manager showed up on site, and, he's just like, don't do it that way. Do it this way. And then I was like, hey, we're this far. I was like, unless it's unsafe, please go sit in the truck. You know, I said it more than that, right? We were a little close, so you know, I use words, but I was like, hey, go sit in the truck. You're getting everybody riled up. Don't do that. Just go away. Let us handle it. If you do call stop work, right? That's the way I look at it, you know. So, and that's why I like, you know, let the teams do what they're gonna do. If it doesn't look right, smell right, feel right, you know,
Then it's not right.
Yeah, it's not right.
Yeah.
But if it's none of that, just leave it be, right?
Sure.
They're gonna solve it, right? As long as they're within the boundaries of safety and the procedures. Leave them alone. Let them, you know, just because they did this before they did that. Well, if you can mix those two things backwards, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I know you've worked for, I don't know, about a handful of different companies in renewables and mostly wind. And you said you've seen it 2 times where a manager goes out to the field. That's a really low number.
It is.
And so this intuitive approach for you, and presumably intuitive or chance, and we'll have to ask him, you know, maybe somebody taught him, but how do we teach more people? How do we teach more managers how to follow some of those good basic principles?
Well, I think it goes a little deeper than that, right?
Okay.
I think you see a lot of managers in this industry have way too many technicians and way too many jobs going on that if they left the office, it's probably going to fall apart.
Okay.
So they can't go out to the field. That's to me, that's a problem, right? To these other companies' bottom line and their, you know, whatever you want to call it, right?
So you're not saying you know how it got there, but you're saying that you've observed other managers overworked.
Yeah.
For a general term.
Well, think about it. I mean, day to day, they're talking to sales, customer relationship managers. They're doing bids. They're checking payroll. There's expenses. Like there's all these things that, yeah, I mean, you can knock some of that out if you're going out in the field, but ultimately a lot of that will fall off without them, right? And then if they do go to the field and all that is handled, well, you still got all those technicians because they have too many under them calling them. They can't pay attention to what they're doing. They're still trying to put out fires, right? So, yeah, you know, to me, that's the reason you don't see a lot of managers out in the field with their guys, reviewing work and how their guys are going through those processes. Because they can't.
Boy, you dug deep.
Well,
you did say you think it's deeper than that. You really did. Okay, so I want to keep on this with you because there's something special that I just think the world needs to hear more about it. Certainly don't want to give away any Altair secrets. So, you know, give me a timeout if you think I've gone too far, right? An old stop podcast or stop work for a podcast. Instead of, you know, how we got there with some of this, you know, what could you say would just be great advice? And maybe for, you know, people that aren't managers yet but want to get there one day. Some things that they should really focus on to be a good man, to become one of those great managers.
That's a fully loaded question.
Well, trying to stay away from picking at, you know, anything.
Okay. I'm going to focus. How do you become a good manager?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a good way to become one because, in my opinion, it just happens. Well, you either apply for it and you get it or you're just put in that position.
Yeah.
I think that's the 2 ways that happens.
And you know,
industry.
I don't like that.
Well, you know.
But yes.
Yeah.
It happens.
And then.
Like that's so much pressure on the person, right?
That is such a hard question, right? And this, you know, I got to give a shout out to you right now because I don't know. Like Adam has been doing an internal managers course with some of our lead technicians, and I've seen these guys grow tremendously in that area because you stepped up and did that, you know, using a lot of your free time. And yeah, I hate to say it, but that's probably the best way to prepare for it. And it's not something that's done. I know I've heard from ex-GE people that GE does, some manager training and stuff, but that's not a real thing anywhere else that I'm aware of. I just, they pick a candidate and they're like, all right, let's see how they do, I think the only reason I've been successful is just because I knew the work in depth and I understood the guys around me, right? I understand that team building and stuff. And I hate to say it, I got all that from the military. I didn't pick any of that up in the industry, so that's why, what you're doing, I think is a great way to prep people. And, it gives them the opinion whether they want to do it. A lot of guys are like, oh, I'd love to be a manager. It's so much easier, and this, which anybody that says it's easier, yeah, physically maybe, but mentally not so much, But I think that's the best way to prepare somebody, whether they really want to go that route,
Well, thank you for the compliment.
Yeah.
I wasn't quite fishing for the compliment, but I'll take them. Am I blushing? But I'll take them. I was thinking more about the mechanics of it. Because you said, it's you're running hours for payroll and you're working with sales, and then you're over here with expenses and logistics, and what, maybe just some of the mechanics. What should a week or a month look like? How much should a manager try and get out in the field or talk to the people? Like, do you try and talk to everybody once a month, once a week, once a day? What does it look like?
It's not like I have on my calendar, like, call this guy. It's more, well, I'm very ADHD, so I'm like the organized chaos person.
Yeah.
But, okay, we got this job, and I'm reviewing this, and then I go back over here and I'm looking through reports on another job, and I'm like, okay, well, let me call this guy. Hey, how's your team doing? What you guys, any issues? You need any PPE? What's going on? And then I'll call the guy on the other crew and be like, okay, how's it going? How you guys setting up? So as far as going to the field, I think a great one would be once a month, right? Go out a couple days. It doesn't have to be a full week, go out and see a team. If that's not, maybe that's not in the budget, that's not possible, but once every 2 months, probably more realistic for a lot of people. To be honest, that's probably about what I do.
Once every 2 months, and try and stay out maybe a week.
Yeah, if I had to guess, that's about what we're sitting at, but
What's too long of amount of time to go without just talking to somebody that's on your team?
I mean, you need to talk to everybody at least once a month. Okay. I think. I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, like you said, unless you're face to face with them, how are you supposed to know? Call the quiet guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some guys that call me. I mean, they call me every 2 days,
Yeah.
which is fine,
Sure.
And that could just be they're calling me because they need something, or calling me because they're like, hey, I'm troubleshooting this. It kind of looks funky. What do you think? Or, hey, I'm looking at this rigging. Like, does it look right? Like, so there's a lot of back and forth because my guys know if they call them and answer the phone.
Mm-hmm.
My wife might not like that all the time because we might already be in bed. She's like, don't answer it. I answer it every time. But that's the best way for me, is just always answering the phone. If I'm on a Teams call, unless it's super important and I'm talking, I'm gonna mute that Teams call and I'm gonna get on the phone. Sorry if y'all are trying to talk to me, but I'm gonna pay attention to this technician that's out here working on this platform before I worry about the back end of the stuff that we have all the rest of the time in the day to catch up on, right?
The technicians under your management or care are priority.
Always.
This is what I heard.
Yeah.
You'll drop anything for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you can't, I bet you're texting and saying, just give me a few minutes. Call you right back.
Yeah.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Altair Energy Services, and their highly trained, expert technical staff, leveraging decades of renewable power management experience into customized solutions for everyone to meet their energy goals and contribute to a better future for all. Altair's team of hardworking, respected experts are providing full-scope, turnkey repairs, planned and unplanned maintenance, system upgrades, fully autonomous technical crews, supplemental staffing, and customized dynamic scheduling to fit your power production needs. Contact Altair at info@altairenergyservices.com and learn more about their wide range of capabilities across multiple power technologies and platforms. Okay, that's a huge difference. I can think of bosses that I couldn't talk to for weeks, months sometimes in my career. They could text, email, call, nothing.
Yeah.
You ever have that?
Yeah. I've had that a lot. You call them and they give you the forward with the text, I'll call you back. Well, they never call you back, and I forget sometimes. Like, I've done that, right? We're all human. But when you realize you do it, you need to call them, right? Don't just, well, I guess he figured it out. Mm-hmm. No, don't do that. Call them. Call them and say, hey, I'm sorry. I forgot. That's my bad. What'd you need? Do you still have an issue?
Mm-hmm. I wonder, I felt different times when I had managers that didn't take my calls or messages or whatever it was. That if I was trying to follow up, I was just bothering this person, and it might be worse for me in my career. I don't know. Do you think, you know what I mean though?
If your career is hindered because you call too much, then that's probably not a good leader.
Ooh, I like it.
Because the less you call, the more efficient you are at your job. So in my opinion, that would be my job to get you more efficient, so you stop calling me, right?
This makes sense.
Now,
not just ignore me, so I stop calling.
Now, okay, there are guys that like to just call, right? And yeah, you just tell them, hey, it's simple. You have all the power in the world on that site to handle those types of issues on your own. Like, unless that changes, like, don't worry about calling me about it. You just handle it, right? Mm-hmm. That's how you solve those little things. Those guys are kind of scared to do things on their own without somebody telling them yes. Like, you have to make sure they understand they have that power. Mm-hmm. You need a drill? Go get the drill. Yeah. Don't call me about a drill, right? Now, you're going to buy a $1,000 1-inch impact? Okay, call me. I need to know why you need that 1-inch impact or something like that.
Yeah.
Go get the drill.
Right. But you probably give out running rules, right, on how things they can buy without asking you first.
Right. Well, and
things they can't.
We have other things, right? Like, we set up individual transaction spend limits on the cards, right?
Oh, sure.
So, the guys can't just go, oh, well, I need to buy a banana beam to go do this 2.8 rotor,
Just swipe it.
Yeah, just like, you can't do that, So, but yeah, empower them. Let them know you got it. If you feel unsafe or unsure, call me. But if it's little stuff, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right. So you're talking so much to the team. What are some of the things that technicians are looking for today?
Well, I think the number one question I get asked is, hey, where are we going next? Which, sometimes I have that answer. Sometimes it's, hey, we got a lot going on. I haven't quite solidified that yet, right? We're going to mix some people around, and we're going to change the teams up because the task is a little different at these other jobs that are next. But man, what do they need? Man, that's, to me, they just want attention and feel heard. It's, I don't know about other places, but here we like to give the teams the PPE they want and need, the tooling they want and need. You need something for the truck that's going to be, okay, yeah, we can do that. Go get it. So all those little things that bother a lot of technicians, you know, it it's okay. Like yes, if that makes you happier, like hey, it's something small, simple. Let's do it.
Hmm.
But keeping that career growth and sending them to those odd jobs they've never done, and you take a commissioner, longtime commissioner, and win, and you're like, hey, you're gonna go change out all these string inverters on this solar site and commission them. And they're like, well, I've never done that before. I say it's okay. Like we're gonna go walk through it and you know freaking knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, um, we're honest with our customers and we're honest with our technicians and we're honest with ourselves, right? So I don't know. I couldn't tell you what the overall technician base in the industry is really wanting right now, but to me, they want to be part of a team, you know.
Be part of a team. Okay. I want to circle back to that because I heard a lot of like the little things. I want this tool or type of tool or PPE, and maybe this is the one that is the easiest for me or feels comfortable or I know it well. And to their credit, every tool seems to have 5 or 6 versions of the exact same tool.
Yeah.
And I've gone over a tool list with you and Chance several times, and I feel like I'm standing at the color swatch thing with my wife picking out the next paint for the wall. I have no idea what the right answer is. Don't ask me. I don't know. They all look, it's right. But to some people, it's an important thing that I have this type of, and pick the, a hand tool or piece of PPE. And it's an easy thing to fix, right? And not make the small thing the big problem. And you're giving them what they want.
Yeah. I mean, when we started, we were using a certain type of harness. And all the guys were like, hey, we kind of really don't like this one. Like, can we go to this one? We were like, well, yeah, why not? If that's what y'all want, like, let's do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember this. I remember going to a spot and looking at these harnesses that you guys were telling me about. And honestly, I had no idea. Again, you asked me what the paint color should be. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what was funny? I only looked at the math, right? The finances of it.
Right.
And I went, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's all relatively the same cost.
Yeah.
So whatever you want.
Yeah. What's $30 a unit more or less? I mean, if it's comfortable, they're going to wear it.
Yes.
And they're going to wear it right.
I mean, that piece is there for saving your life. Let's be comfortable in it.
Give them what they want.
Let's be comfortable in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it all comes back to our motto: attract, educate, sustain.
Attract, educate, sustain.
It's what we want to do. We want to build that team atmosphere, where everybody gets along to an extent, right? You don't all have to be going out and going to each other's weddings and stuff. We get it, right? Everybody is their own person, but we want to build that strong team and have everybody educating each other and going to school and learning those things. You're doing your progressive education with the management piece, so I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, I think we're knocking it out of the park so far, and doing what we said we were going to do.
Yes, agreed. No, I'm a big fan of training, lots of training, and we talk about it so much in what we talk about in the most the safety aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And behind that's the technical. But I'm not going to say it out loud, but one of the best ways to stay safe is to be very technically savvy, right? Be an expert and know what the equipment's going to do. Electrical equipment, hydraulic, mechanical, when and does it move, why does it move? And if you know these things, you're going to stay safe, right? So it's kind of funny, but you got to start with your basic. And then we talk a lot about training technicians is the point, but I just think in the industry we don't talk enough about training managers. And it has been way too many years of apply for the job and you get it, or you were just the best tech, so we're promoting you and now you're a manager. And I mean, Ross, I've said it to you. I don't know if I should say it on the podcast. I'm going to, but in a lot of ways, it sets these humans up for failure.
It does.
It sets them up for failure.
It does. I mean, I can tell you, I was that tech that got thrown into that position. Uh, I, luckily I'm savvy enough. I picked a lot of it up and I hit the floor running, right? But I also got to help build that program the way I thought it should be and to be right. So I wasn't stepping into something where I had to fall in line, right? Because I had to fix trucks and tooling and PPE. I had to fix everything, right? So I got to build that, but it also, boy, was it a pain in the butt. It was a lot as a first time manager, but it made me better. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. And you're right. I think if I had some training before that, it probably would have been a little more streamlined instead of, okay, here's the problem. How do I fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it could have been, hey, here's how to look for the problems. Here's the avenue to start fixing these problems, right? I would have had some sort of foundation, right? But instead, I built the form and slowly poured each section and figured it out, right?
Sure. And
which is okay, but
a lot on your own time, I bet.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, it is this natural thing in society and culture to take, what appears to be a great leader and promote him into this manager spot. But if you don't teach them and train them, you're setting them up for failure. I want to just compare and contrast that too. And we can pick on me. If you wanted to hire me to be one of your service managers, as is, I would fail. And just in the areas we were talking about, I don't know the tools anymore, right? I don't know the PPE anymore. I don't know a lot of the common repair parts, maintenance parts. I don't have, hardware sizes memorized. The lingo.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I was a great tech, but it was, a little bit ago.
Yeah.
How the system operates. So if you wanted to hire me as a service manager, I mean, I would say you would need to send me out to the field for a minimum of 6 months, maybe 9, and make me work in all the areas where you might have people working for me. That would be a way for you to give me those skills. Because we talk about you don't have to be a great tech to be a great manager. Fine. But if you've never been a tech, if you don't know those things, you're not going to be a great manager. And you can go get the skills with something like what I proposed to you.
Yeah.
But I would fail being a manager for you if you wouldn't train me in the areas where I'm deficient.
Yeah. No, and that's a big thing, right? Is it almost seems like people would rather not deal with that training of a manager and just, oh, well, he failed. It was his fault. Let's just find another one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst answer ever, right? But it does. It tremendously helps, right? Because you understanding what's happening in the field and those tools and that lingo and the different types of towers and what those different types take and need, that helps in so many levels, not just with managing the guys, but setting up quotes and talking with your salespeople, because, they can go sell a job, but you have to tell them, well, do you have the guys that can do it? Do we have the tools? When can we do it? All those things play into that factor. And if you don't know, you don't know. So
yeah,
you're right. I mean, that's why I think, in my personal opinion, a lot of the good managers do come from the field, but it doesn't mean they're always cut out to be a manager either. So,
well, if there's no training program, you're not going to know, right?
Yeah.
Same for me. If I went that way, if there's no training program, I might fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. There has to be something in place, and I hope more companies start doing that. Right?
Yes.
Because let's be honest, hiring somebody over and over again in a different position. It doesn't save money. It doesn't create productivity within a company. It does no good.
Mm-hmm.
So why not invest a little bit up front to try to solidify those positions and get it right?
Well, and just like your techs can call you if they're stuck on a troubleshooting activity or a repair activity, you're likely going to have the answer. And if you don't, you have the network close enough to get the answer, probably like Johnny on the spot. And that type of manager was the type that I had when I was a tech too. My manager was smarter than me.
Yeah.
Technically, right? And as they should be, right?
Yeah.
Like I could call my manager and ask the question and they give me the answer versus, a lot of times today, and it's just because the industry's grown so fast. Well, we're going to have to put a technical case in or, log this and send it to a group of people and it's going to come back with some answers and some feedback and then And I'm like, well, I'm standing here in the hub right now and would love to know the answer to this question so I can get this turbine running today and have some job satisfaction, produce some power.
Well, and I still run across those where tech will call me and they're like,
Well, sure.
hey, this is what I'm looking at. And I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I have an idea, but I'm not going to say it because I'm not sure, right? But I'll call other people in the industry. I'll call friends in other places and see if anybody knows,
Yeah.
So you're always going to be in that position of calling other people. I don't care how big and high and mighty you get. You're still going to call out to other people.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why you never burn a bridge.
No. And because cell phones only came into common existence or for retail purposes when I was a young tech. I mean, there was years when there weren't.
It was like early 90s.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, but this was like late 90s when,
Yeah, they got really easy, yeah.
And they were affordable.
Yeah.
Kind of. You could buy it, but then the minutes, anyway, they were affordable enough for a company. Man, I felt like Superman. And I had this thing, right? Because I knew all the people that would have the answer, and now I could just call them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But we have it everywhere.
Yeah.
So all you got to do is make the call.
It's that easy.
It's that easy. We'd like to take this time to thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, Podge Engineering. Podge Engineering, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Are your renewable energy assets underperforming or not performing at all? Did you expect many years of longevity and they're failing on you now? Podge LLC offers many customized, engineered products and solutions to get these assets back on track. Podge Engineering also performs root cause analysis, engineering services, procurement, and construction. Visit podge.org. That's PADGE.org. Remember Podge, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Want to share what's new? What's new at Altair?
Well, we've been doing quite a bit more, project management, site management, construction management, owner rep, stuff like that. That's a space that I feel like, hate to say it this way, but companies will just hire some Joe and just, all right, go out there and do it. Good luck. It's kind of works back to that manager thing, right? They just, all right, yeah, go over here. Hope you get it.
Don't give much training.
Hope you do all right,
Yeah.
So we're doing quite a bit of that. Electrical engineering, EV charging. We're doing some custom tooling. What else? We're doing, I don't know. I guess we're doing a little bit of all of it,
A little bit of all of it.
We're getting some
campaign work in solar now.
Yeah, campaign work in solar.
Not just wind.
Yeah, we're getting requests, if we provide, like ROC services.
Right.
And we're looking at expanding in those spaces. We're getting some good traction, and hopefully we keep pushing forward in those other areas, but we're still doing really good in our, all MCE work, whether it's major or minor. Um, your troubleshooting, your preventative maintenance. We don't do a whole lot of preventative maintenance, but we like sending those guys. Customers seem to like it because those guys are usually more knowledgeable. So they're like, hey, go do this torquing, but can you fix the tower while you're there?
Yeah.
So we get to offer a little bit more.
You said we don't do much maintenance, but one thing that customer feedback that I've received was how clean the turbines were left after the Altair crew was there doing a piece of maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the maintenance from the small repair and online, but there have been managers go up turbines more often now. I think because of 3S lift is what I've been hearing.
Yeah.
If they got the 3S lift, they don't mind. It's not a
I don't blame them.
Yeah, I know. You're riding up. You're not. But no, I've received a couple of notes and pictures. Just very impressed. I don't know how you instilled that into everybody.
Well, I don't think we did, other than qualities. Elite. If you pay somebody to wash your car and do maintenance on it, right, change the oil and everything, do you expect to get it back in worse shape? No.
I've heard several technicians on some of our all-hand calls use the phrase "leave it better than you found it."
Yes.
That must have come from you or Chance. I don't remember saying that, but that's leave it better than you found it.
Yeah.
Sorry, the maintenance piece, because that is, I'm a big.
I know
I love
you
the
love
maintenance.
it.
Yeah.
Well, we love it too. And we love going to do like those QA/QC walk downs, into warranty walk downs, catastrophic walk downs. We like doing all that stuff because, we get to point out a lot of that stuff. I don't know, it's easy to do a maintenance and do it right. It's exactly what you're going to do every day. You go in and you do it right.
Yeah.
So I think our guys take pride in trying to be the best, right? And I don't necessarily think it's us instilling it in them. It's just we want that culture. We want to be able to say, oh, well, I work for Altair and we're the best. Right?
God, they really do.
Yeah. Well,
That's
we give them the means to be able to do that.
It's pride in your ownership of the work that you perform.
Right.
Yeah.
If
It's not complicated.
if they ever stop saying that, then I'm doing something wrong. We got to fix that quick.
That's right. No, it's not complicated. Just keep it that simple.
Yeah.
I love the new services that we're expanding into. I think it was a little hard for me during the launch to be able to be telling customers, no, we can't do that for you. And now, okay, we're not quite 2 years old, but we've gotten to the point where, yes, we can solve that problem for you. And that feels like being such a better partner.
It is, right? Yeah, and I appreciate those customers working with us on that, right? As we were young and we start growing. But yeah, we're there now, right? We can offer a lot of those things that we couldn't in the beginning, and we're doing very good at it. So, it's been a whirlwind, I don't know if a lot of people realize it, but our second job as Altair was a catastrophic blade.
Yes, it was.
Removed the whole machine head and top tower section, restacked it out, and
I wonder if I had that picture. No, I have that one at home.
yeah. But that's the thing, right? Was our customers challenged us from the get-go, right? And we were there to accept that challenge and do it right. And so we just want to keep maintaining that and pushing that culture of being the best and doing it right, because the only way to be the best is to do it right. So I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And our guys love catastrophic work. It's pretty crazy. I think it's just, they're like, ooh, it's broken, and I get to fix it. It's crazy.
Okay, I get that. So it's funny. Those like kind of stress me out the most.
Yeah.
Um, so many new aspects of safety, but you and or Chance are always, very closely involved. So it's, cared for and everybody's taking
Yeah.
the right approach. Okay, but the way you said it makes sense. It has a very unique and massive problem. And when I'm done, that turbine will be running.
Well,
That's a piece of job satisfaction.
and most people just see like, oh, it's really damaged. But yeah, you do the big crane stuff. Yeah, got it out of the way. But now you have all the ancillary stuff, the troubleshooting, everything, right? So you're working all those muscles of all the experience you can learn in wind on one tower, right? So, those technicians kind of get every piece of wind within one tower, and it's to me it's really satisfying mentally, right? Especially when it starts running.
Right.
So.
And then I've always heard you say, we stay there. It's going to run 24 hours. If it doesn't run 24 hours, we're not done.
Right.
Right? You give that real turnkey. That's what turnkey means. It's producing power.
Yeah.
And now you're saying fault free. And now I've seen you do several where you go, I'll promise 3 days.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's like, okay.
I mean, why not? And even if it goes down for some other ancillary reason, yeah, you got the part, we'll go fix it.
Yeah. Simple.
I'm not there to say, oh, well, that wasn't a part of the original issue, not my problem. No, we're here to be a partner. We want to help get your tower online. We don't want to pull technicians away from the site, so they have to go do it, right? Because now those technicians are stepping into a tower that they didn't start or finish, right? That's like you tearing apart the engine on my truck and saying, well, there's the nuts and bolts, throw it back together.
Right.
That's just not, it's
right.
not good.
No.
So.
No. That happens to me after I've torn engines apart and then took a month break for whatever reason and went back and went, oh, damn.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it's like, man, I should have put all those screws where took them out.
Right? We've all done these things. The other thing that I don't know where you got this 24 hours thing running or, even more than that, but I do remember a couple of different turbines that I think you and Chance worked on, and it was after another MCE change out, and it still wasn't running, and it still had some repairs needed. So you guys went in and did these repairs, and it seemed odd that you wouldn't just do it all at once. I don't know if that's where you kind of came with that concept, but I get how that's a gap sometimes.
Well,
for owners.
I think we got it because specifically a long time ago, I don't know if they still do it this way, the GE MCE team, they wouldn't do the determ and retermination of the towers. They would come in and do the lifts and leave. So they didn't do any of the putting everything, wiring it back together and putting it online, and for some reason that became a trend. I don't know why. And I think it was Chance that came up with it. I can't remember. That was kind of in the beginning, right? But we knew that it was an issue that customers had problems with towers going back online, staying online after MC crews came through, and hey, why not give them a guarantee? Like, hey, we guarantee it's going to run this long before we leave. I mean, it's simple.
Right. That's right. And that's the analogy. You took the engine apart and then I tried to put it back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that change now. I won't go into that, but I do remember living through that. GE. Yeah.
And I only poke at GE because that was the realm I lived under at being Granite Field Corps. So.
Well, they've blazed a lot of trails in our industry, and they're near and dear to my heart. 21 years there.
I appreciate them. Keep selling them and putting them up.
Right.
Right.
Yep. All right. So what's next after this road trip?
That's a loaded question too.
Sure.
It's just back to the grind, right? Get back, get organized. Did I miss anything? I try to play catch up every day after work when I'm out in the field. but there's certain things I miss. You know, I call you, call Chance. Hey, what are we doing? Where are we at? What needs to be done? But yeah, you just get back into the office groove, you know, and start planning those next jobs and make sure you got the tooling and all the, you know, it's just back to the grind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be happy when you have my tooling. 'Cause I can't ever somehow keep memorized what I have. Every time you ask, I'm like, I better look again.
I could take it with me. You need me to take it with me?
No. Just teasing you. Just teasing you. No, it's good for me. I'll start memorizing it. But
Yeah.
that's actually why I moved it into my office. Forces me to look at it and remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, and it's just, I think where you've picked up most of it is, you know, working through those quotes, and
Yeah.
because you hear us talking about what we need for which jobs.
It's the nicknames that just continue to get me.
It's just a baseball bat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Of course it is. What baseball bat do you want? I don't actually want a baseball bat.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny story because, you know, I started in maintenance, and, you know, when I first started, I filled out a checklist wrong because I didn't know half the names of stuff. But I had a guy, he's filling out the checklist and the tooling on a GE checklist, and he put baseball bat and serial number. So instead of calling it a large torque wrench or a 500 foot-pound torque wrench, he put baseball bat because that's what we all called it. That's what he knew it as, you know?
I've never heard that term till right now.
Yeah.
Never till right now.
You know what a tweaker is, though?
I do.
I never heard that till I got in a wind.
That's the 1/8 inch.
Yeah. I'm like, why do you all call this tiny flat tip screwdriver a tweaker? I mean, it makes sense, right? You tweak
The
that.
terminal
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, I get it. But yeah, whoever came up with that, they should have like coined the term, because
Well, somebody before my time, because that was the name I was told.
Yeah.
So somebody before me came up with that name.
Well, hopefully it wasn't a tweaker that came up with the tweaker.
So that's interesting. You mean like drug abuse kind of tweaker?
Yeah.
I don't think we used that word for somebody using. We'd have to think, Jacob, later on, we'll look up when the term tweaker came into society, because I think the screwdriver came first.
Well, hold on.
I'm pretty sure the screwdriver came before
I'm going to
drug
Google it,
abuse
because
context.
if it pulls up a picture of a screwdriver, I've been wrong my whole life.
On Google.
Let's see.
What do you mean a tweaker? It's the 1/8 inch flat screwdriver, right? That's a Phillips there.
Okay, but apparently that's a song by G-Lo. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Is it a song tweaker?
It's a song.
G-Lo? Not J-Lo? G-Lo?
No, G-Lo.
I don't know that one either.
Nope. Yeah. Oh. So if the images shows...
Can't believe you just Googled tweaker.
I did. Well, it shows... In pictures, it shows pictures of an energy drink called Tweaker Energy. And literal tweakers. Drug abuse. Yeah. All right.
Nothing. No screwdrivers?
No screwdrivers.
Interesting. All right. I would love to find out who came up with the word tweaker for a screwdriver.
I mean, it makes sense, right? My dad was a mechanic, so growing up, he's like, oh, you just need to tweak that jet and the carburetor a little bit, you know. So it makes sense.
Small turn. Yeah. Right. Or small size change. In today's fast-paced industry, having the right tools isn't just an advantage, it's essential. That's where ETI Energy Tools comes in. With over 75 years of industry experience, they deliver strategic procurement solutions that enhance safety, efficiency, and cost savings. ETI provides industrial tools, safety gear, test and measurement equipment, and heavy repair solutions, all backed by a vast network of manufacturers. Whether it's tool kitting, PPE standardization, or high voltage tooling, ETI saves companies time and money while ensuring they have the right tools for the job. Contact ETI at etienergytools.com to learn more and gear up for success.
There's a lot of names. I'm not going to go through them. But there's just, you know, there's...
All right, rattle off some. How many can you rattle off? Nicknames.
Well, okay, so we got Tweaker. You got Elephant Turd. So that's the grease trap under the front in the main bearing.
Okay.
In the fish bowl.
What's the fishbowl?
The fish bowl is the front bowl area in the bed plate where the front pucks are.
Okay.
Okay, that's the fish bowl. You got the elephant herd. You got, that one I won't say. It's a little vulgar.
Skip that one.
You have, the other ones I can't say. But
Well, I've heard spider, banana.
well, I mean, as far as I know, that's their literal names, right? Because it looks like a banana. I don't know the technical term if there is one for those. It's the spider and the banana. Yeah, they're just lifting devices, but I never heard them called anything else.
All right, I always thought it was a nickname. But
No, that's if you call somebody, you're like, hey, you got this kind of spider, like they might say which one, like there's because there's different types of
Right.
spiders, but that's what everybody calls it. So, no, it's you get those names, and that's just what sticks around the industry.
It does.
It's
it does.
It's like when you're a kid and you come up with some slang term for whatever, it just catches on.
Mm-hmm. No, I love it. All right. I had a question for you. We're starting to do giveaways for the podcast, and the passion behind it is create awareness in some area. And we're doing one for March. Just give us a safety tip, and we're going to give away like 10 Watts Up Renewable hats and koozies, to 10 that we kind of choose at random. But every time you give a tip, it's another kind of ticket into the pool.
Right.
What are some other awareness kind of campaigns that you think might be beneficial today? Just awareness. Or fun.
Safety's such a broad thing. You almost have to. I think campaigns have the most productivity when you focus on something specific.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you have a specific thing to focus on each month, right? And gather those tips about that. Man, I don't know. My biggest thing is 100% tie off for me. I hate to say this, but I've seen guys in the industry get on top of nacelles, do all sorts of stuff, no harness. It's really bad, and this has been a long time ago, but it still doesn't make it right. This industry, this job, any company, like none of it's worth your life.
Mm-mm.
Do your hot, cold hots. If you're turning something on, step away from whatever it is you just fixed,
Right.
I was doing some troubleshooting with one of the guys, he had some bad leads on a fan, fixed it. I'm like, hey, step back. I'm gonna turn the power on. Sure enough, that thing, wow, and it just, the wires were broken even more further down. Mm-hmm. So by us fixing the ends of it, just there in the terminal blocks on the motor,
Shorted out somewhere else.
Shorted out somewhere else, and that's the thing. Never trust it, right?
Always
do your checks. Always stand out of the way. Don't trust moving objects. Don't stand in between a moving object and something. I think hands is still the biggest injury in the industry.
Sure.
And I think a lot of that just comes from moving too fast and not being cautious. And none of this is worth it. It's just not.
Boy, I love this advice. Yeah, you really kind of moved from the 100% tie off. I'm nervous to find out people climbing without tying off or outside of that. But then you moved into lotto, right? So remove energy, always check, don't trust, don't assume.
Well, those are the two biggest things for me. Seen too many things happen or go wrong, Thankfully, not with me or my crew, but just in the industry, and a lot of the stuff I see, it's never been directly like in the company that I've been a part of, but it's either been on the site or at another site that I hear about, and it's just why, you know, everybody says you get paid by the hour, not the tower, but you know, yeah, we like to be quick and efficient, but do it right.
Yeah.
You know, you had Eric on the podcast.
Yeah.
Eric is, man, he's the best at. He has the most patience and ability to step back and analyze things. Right. I think he does it better than anybody that I've ever worked with. I try to be very good about it, but he does. He takes it a step further. Right. I hit all the marks I need, but he thinks about things in a deeper level, and I really appreciate it because, I appreciate having a guy like that on the team that's spreading that type of behavior,
No, during that, I was jokingly coming up with this, and it's come across my mind several times with what would Eric do?
Yeah.
Because, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That guy won't cut a corner, and he knows when one's coming.
Yes.
He sees them coming. He's been doing it long enough, and the world could not push him
No.
to cut a corner or not follow the right process.
And that's how it should be.
Unbelievable. Yes. That's what I'm saying. It'd be like a "What would Eric do" campaign.
Yeah.
Because it is strict. But he's also one of the most efficient guys
Oh yeah.
out there. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's slowing you down.
No,
No.
it doesn't.
No.
Where it slows you down is after something happens.
You betcha.
Yeah. So if you just do it right from the get-go,
Yep, that's right. All right, I like it. More focused and pointed, not so generic and general on safety.
Yeah, and I know I didn't really fully answer
No,
your
that was
question
great
there,
ideas. We're going to try and do monthly giveaway programs. And as a matter of fact, some of these guys have agreed to sponsor some of the future months. But sticking to safety is probably where I know I'm most passionate. So it's good to hear that was where your head was going to. Create more awareness. And a lot of times it just means create more conversation to get it started.
Yeah, and you could even team up with some of these safety schools and training facilities, right? You talk about you need to be technical to be safe, and that could go hand in hand. And maybe they want to do a sponsorship and do a raffle to maybe hand out a free spot in a class or something.
Right.
Right.
That'd be cool.
There's so many ways that all the companies in this industry can work together to spread knowledge and help. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And the companies are working together more and more and
They
better. And you and I just learned this, it's real. It's real. People really coming together to solve problems. Yeah. I don't feel any combative kind of nature.
No.
It's a sharing and for the benefit of everybody kind of vibe, I suppose, for lack of a different word.
Yeah. No, and it's the same thing as, the technical leaders in the field teaching the new guys, right? Why shouldn't we be doing that between us and other companies and sharing and helping each other out? Because there's plenty of work in this industry. Mm-hmm. There's more than enough for all of us to stay busy and just be better as a whole, the industry.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We're going to keep doing that, and we're going to use some of those ideas on safety to help create more awareness and check in with you again later to see how it's going and what else you're hearing from the field. Yeah. Since you're definitely tapped into what technicians got going on, what they need, next steps. That's we're going to keep trying to promote that awareness.
Maybe I could shoot you some short little videos from out there in the field.
We'd love that.
Let Jacob do what he wants with it, you know.
We'd love that. We'd love that.
So,
All right. Well, safe travels the rest of the day and safe time in the field.
yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
All right.